Hello everyone and welcome back to Angie B Cards and Crafts. So today is release day for JMC Designs' latest set, and this lot is called Princess Tales. So I've not actually got all the princesses, I've just realised I've not got them all in front of me. But here's a couple of the princesses, and I have another one on this sample. So I've made a couple of samples so far, I'll be making more over the next few days. But this one is the sample that I've made that was simple, and then I've done a couple of other colour options. So this one you can see, as with the green one, it's just sprayed. And one of the things I've seen people asking in relation to digistamps is, what if you're not a colourist? And I've said it before, I'll say it again, I'm not a colourist. I mean, this one is partially coloured, just using a range of gouache and watercolours, and I quite like it, but it's not as stylish as my colleagues who are also on the JMC Dream Team, because they are colourists through and through. They know all about the tones, they know how to use their implements to get the right shading, etc, etc. I just colour for fun. I've not got into the technical side of it, so I just judge it if I like how it looks. So this, again, these two both look a little bit messy. So there's a really simple solution for if you think something looks messy when you've printed it out. Digistamps, you print them out on whatever you're actually wanting them to be on. So you can't stamp them freehand like you do with the normal stamps. You get them on your computer, you make them the size you want, you then print them out onto your medium. So you need to make sure that you have a printer, you need to make sure that your printer will take the substrate you want to print them on. So this is, I would say about 200, 240 GSM. It's just ordinary card, there's nothing special about it. I've come across this, I think this is potentially my very first stash where I got a decent wad of card, and this is what's left from that. So I thought I'd try it in my printer. I have got some 300 GSM which doesn't go in my printer, which is my preferred sort of card stock at the moment, but this works. So all I've done is print out several of the ladies. So you'll see these two were once upon a time connected. Chop them up. I've made them the size that I want them for the pieces. And then for this one you have two options. You have the option of super duper fast cutting. And all I do with this is just roughly follow the overall shape and finish it off. And then what I would tend to do, I've just noticed there it's got a little bit funny bits, we'll just cut that round a bit more. There we go. So all I would then do is edge this with my StazOn, just to make it stand out. And then add it onto whatever piece it is it's going on. So just adding that black edge is making it stand out and pop a little bit more. So if I show you it on the back of here, it stands out a lot more with the black edge. So it's a really simple way of cutting out your piece. Now even if I was to put this on a piece of the same colour, because it's got the black edge, it's lifting it up. So that's a really simple way of cutting out. I'm just going to very quickly blast that because it's got ink on it and I don't want to get ink all over my hands and then all over anything else that I do. Okay, and then what you can do with a white jelly roll pen or a white Posca pen or a white pencil is you can just start adding in highlights. And again, you can think about where the light's coming from if you want to, but this isn't accurate imagery. We're not looking at a portrait, so we don't have to worry about shading. This is more fantasy, so I'm just going to put little bits of white just as highlights, and all they're doing is just giving you a little bit more interest in what's happening. I'll have a little bit on the sleeve, a little bit on this sleeve. Right, I'm happy with that. So all that's done is make it pop a little bit more. Now if you want to, you can go on and colour the eyes and the lips and make them pop more, or colour the shoe so that it pops out more. Or you could even print and cut out another copy of the shoe and decoupage it on so that you're actually raising it up, making it 3D. But to me, that's a piece that can now go onto a journal page or a card. As I said, this one has been more carefully coloured and isn't yet finished, but it is an alternative. You can actually just colour them in. What I absolutely love about these is the fact you can change the size. So that's my scrap, that can go down into my recycling bin. So this cup is fab because it's big. So you can start thinking then what can you put in it. I'll come back to the sentiments in a wee minute. So on this page I've actually popped the tone inside of the cup. Now I do somewhere have an image of the tone. Oops, there it is. So this is the tone, and with this, again, I'm not one for fussy cutting, so I chose to cut off the more complicated bits. So I cut off the bobbles and the squiggles and the heart, and I cut off the garden fence and this bit over here. They were going to be underneath anyway, so you weren't going to see them, so there was no point in having them. And with these bits, I can actually draw them back in, or I could choose to put on gems or something like that, just to bring back the effect that you have on this image. So don't feel that you can't chop up your images. It's absolutely fine to chop them up in any way you like. And with the teacup, all I've done is cut along this line, down into the crack and across, and then slotted this in. Added a little bit of string and put it on top of the books. Now the books, oh, let me talk to you about the books. I am in love wherever I put them. This is my sheet of books. Oh my goodness me. Look, this is what I love about digistamps. You can alter the size. If you get an ordinary stamp, you get that stamp and that's the stamp and that's the size and that's what you can do. But with digistamps, you can change the size. So if you want to do a stack of books, all you need to do is do a range of different sizes and then pop the stack down. And because they're books, they're super duper easy to cut out. But there you have your stack of books. If you want to colour them in, again, these ones have just been sprayed. So you can colour them in by hand, you can spray them, the choice is yours. I am very much a sprayer, I spray everything. So what I'm going to do is just do a very simple book stack using these. Oh, just move my art journal, hope that nothing decides to fall. Right, so I've got a couple already sprayed up there, and I have somewhere, yes there it is, I've printed out the apple that comes in the set, and again I've sprayed it. All I've done to do the different colours is mask this, spray it red, mask this, spray it green, and then actually use a paintbrush for the brown bit. Okay, so I did these onto brown paper because that was what was to hand, to be honest, because I knew I was going to be spraying them, so it didn't matter what colour they were. So I am going to use some Dylusions sprays, I think. Yes, I'll use Dylusions. The reason I like using Dylusions with these is they're ink sprays. And because they're ink sprays, rather than acrylic sprays or distress oxide sprays, they are actually translucent, which means I don't need to draw any lines back in. These ones have been sprayed, you can still see all the pages, and that's what I'm after. Now because this is onto brown, you're going to get a different look than if it was onto white. It's not going to be as vibrant, and that's what I'm after for this particular set of books. Where's the other colour? I know I've done that one. We'll do brown onto brown. Let's see how that looks. Okay, and then what I tend to do is get a piece of card. This is so that I can use it again, and I'm just going to absorb any excess ink off that. And you just get, you'll find that they stick half the time, but you just end up getting blobs of paint that you can then use as a base for a different project. There's still some bits on there, so we'll just absorb them. So this is just to not waste the ink. If I was just to go in with a heat gun now, I would be wasting all this ink, which isn't what I want to do. And plus, doing this, can you see I've now got green and purple on that one, as well as the brown. I've got a little bit of purple on that. And I just like the effect of that, because it just adds interest. And that's what this is about. It's about adding interest and making people want to look at what it is you're doing. And making you want to look at it. When I do an art journal page, I don't think, oh, I hope other people like it. I think, oh, I like that page. What can I do for me? It is a very selfish and self-first way of working. And it works for me for this particular part of crafting. I do obviously do commissions and cards and other things that other people would have to consider, but my journals are purely for my benefit. Right, so I'm just going to move those out of the way because I'm thinking, I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do, but I'm thinking along the lines of using the teacup again. Now with the teacup, I'm going to go pink because I like pink, and I have got a yellow one of these. Where is it? There it is. So pink and yellow means you get a lovely orange. And then, because I'm going to use the paper as a mop-up, I'm going to use the same piece of paper. I'm not fussed. Some of this is still wet. That means there'll be some transference. That's absolutely fine. And you'll see I've got a piece of paper underneath as well. And that is picking up all this lovely excess colour as well. I will show you yesterday's piece of paper, because I love it. I did a lot of work yesterday. Oh, that's today, so that's looking good now, isn't it? Look at all the different colours and depths there. And you're even getting the texture. This card that I've printed on has some texture. You're even picking up the texture, which is brilliant. Let me just show you yesterday's scrap page. That just makes me so happy. That's got gloss sprays, Dylusion sprays, some gouache. Oh, brilliant. No idea what I'll do with that. I'll probably die cut with it, but I just love the colours. So now we have a lovely colourful cup. Give it a quick blast. We've also got a nice shape here. This is just, I think it's 100 GSM piece of A3 paper. I've got a pad. It was a cheap pad from a cheap supermarket store that you may all know, beginning with L and ending in Iddle. I actually got it when I was on holiday in Ireland to do some doodles and stuff on, and now I'm using it up as my base. Right, so let's see, should we go on to black? I think we will. I think we'll do a page in the black journal. Yay, there we go. Will you fit? Oh, just about. Just about. It doesn't matter. One thing with journals is it doesn't matter that it doesn't fit perfectly. I'm just going to open this so it's flat. So I'm working on a flat surface. There we go. I'll move the dye inks out of the way. That would be helpful because then I would have a flat surface in front of me. Genius. And then decide where the different books are going to go. And I don't know that I'm going to use all of these, but I'm thinking coffee shop, books around. That one can be kind of acting as the table. Oh, we can have that one in front, can't we? And then that's one thing, is you can just play until you're happy with it. We'll have a little stack at the back. And one standing up to the side. And then I'm thinking, yeah, I'm going to move all that up a little bit. So something like that. So I'm just going to move everything up. I'll put the cup down first. Now today I am using Cosmic Shimmer Glue because that's what's to hand. It's up to you what glue you use. Just make sure that it's going to hold whatever it is you want to hold in place. Now I'm purposely not going right to the edges, because if I'm wanting to tuck things in behind and I've gone right to the edges, I'm going to end up ripping, and I don't want to do that. So I know that I want that to sit onto there, but now I've decided the height the cup's at, I can now put this on. I'll pop that underneath, and because I haven't glued right to the edge, I can stick that down. What I will do is come back in and glue down the bits on top if I feel it needs it. I don't know if it will. We will see. There's nothing like having a nice wee cup of coffee. Well, to be honest, it wouldn't be a cup of coffee if it was me, because I don't drink coffee. It would be a cup of mint tea. But a nice cup of mint tea in a nice cup and saucer. Something about that, isn't there? Always seems to taste a little bit nicer. So this is meaning that there's something in the foreground which pushes the table-esque perspective back a little bit, because I've brought something in front of it. So that's something to think about, is what's the perspective that you want. So I know I've altered where I was putting them, and that's fine. That's one of the things about this, is you can do it as you go along. If you've ever watched any Dina Wakley videos, she's absolutely brilliant, because she literally just puts something down and sticks it as she goes. She doesn't do any of the planning I've just done. She just goes, yeah, that'll go there. And then if she doesn't like it, the glue that she uses, which is her gel medium, has a really long open time, so it takes about 10 minutes to go off. So because of that, if she doesn't like where something is, she quite simply moves it, and it doesn't cause a problem. Right, so there's my cup down. Do I want that apple on? I think the apple on the side there would be quite nice. I don't know, I shall have to have a think about that. But what I do need to think about now is the sentiment. Now I've used a couple of sentiments off this sheet, but there are several left. So, be your own kind of beautiful. That's really nice, I like that. Some girls are just born with glitter in their veins. I'm not one of those girls, I'm not a glitter girl. If you have a garden and a library, you have everything you need. Cinderella, proof that a new pair of shoes can change your life. This is true. All you need is love and a tiara. I'm quite happy just with the love, not bothered about the tiara. So I'm going to use Be Your Own Kind of Beautiful. Okay, now I'm cutting this at all sorts of angles. Again, this is because I don't do straight lines if I can possibly avoid it, because I find it stressful to try and cut in a straight line, so I just don't. No need to have additional stress, particularly when you're crafting. It's meant to be something fun that you enjoy. So Be Your Own Kind of Beautiful can go there. We need to really make that pop. So we'll just move you little cup over to one side, and we'll go back to spraying. I'm just going to put this lid on. The number of times that I end up having to poke the end of this particular glue, it's ridiculous. Right, I'm going to do this in yellow, because I think yellow will really pop on that page. So as I've done with the others, I'm going to get my mop-up page. Now the other thing that you can use, if I just show you, oh, everything's going to fall now. This is the other thing that I use as mop-up. In fact, I think I will, because I quite fancy having a bit of yellow on there. It's just a bit of kitchen towel. But what you've got the advantage of is, as before, it's got other colours on it, so they're transferring. If you're fussy about not transferring, don't do this. I quite like the fact that I've now got a little bit of red and a little bit of pink on there, because I've used this kitchen towel. There's a bit of green. Let's pop a bit more pink on. So I'm mopping up, yeah, adding colour, but it's also adding texture. I'm hoping that you can see there's little bits of texture coming off as well. So that just makes it a little bit more interesting. And then what I'll do is later, when this is dried again, is rip it up, cut it up, stick it onto pieces, use it in my art journals. It's an extra substrate to add interest to any piece that you work on. Right, so very quickly blast this. Now I bet you can't guess what I'm going to do to make the sentiment stand out. I bet you can't. Oh, yes, you're right. I'm going to put some black ink around it. It is something that when I first started doing, I used to be really careful about, and I was like, oh, it's got to be so accurate, and it used to worry me. And I used to use, at the very beginning of my crafty career, a pro marker to do it, and hold it very carefully and go along the edge. And that works. You can use the chisel end of a pro marker and it works. But I just find this little stays on pad is perfect. And I don't do it vertically, perpendicular, sorry. I don't hold the pad vertically and the sentiment horizontally. I do it at a bit of an angle because I'm wanting the colour to be on top. I'm wanting to give a little bit of an edge. If I just do it along there, I'll show you on that edge, you don't see as much of the colour. So if you just want to black out your edges, then just do it with them perpendicular to each other. But I like a little bit of colour on top. So I'm doing it with a little bit of an angle. Now I'm trying to be really good and not grunge it up, because what I would normally do now is add some black ink over the top of it as well. But I'm not going to do that. Try and do something a bit different. And that's something about crafting, is you can actually use it to challenge yourself. I do that quite a lot. I'll choose something. Sometimes I'll just look at my desk and say, right, I've got to make something out of just what's on my desk at that moment in time. And it could be that I only have one bottle of spray ink on my desk, or that I haven't got any spray ink on my desk, shock horror, or that I have a particular colour of paper, or I don't have any die cuts and things like that. And you can just make things out of nothing. Okay, I quite like that, but I want it to be 3D. I want it to pop up a little bit. So I will use 3D foam pads. There we go. I quite like that. Right, so that is the general gist of what I'm doing. But that doesn't look finished to me. There's something missing. And I think that thing that's missing is the white gel pen and a black pen. I don't know that I'll use it. Yes, I will use the black pen actually. I'm going to use the black pen to add titles to the books. Now again, this is something that I do as simply as possible. So simple means don't try and be neat and don't try and make sense. Okay, so I do just a scribble. That doesn't say anything, it is just a scribble. It's just some sort of writing. Some of them are shorter, some of them are longer, and you can make it be whatever title you want. Okay, if you want to go across the front, you can do similar, and then you can just do something like that. So you can add interest in different ways. They now look like books, but you don't really notice the pages. So this is when the white pen comes in. You're using your white pen to bring out highlights, to bring out areas that may be of interest or just might make it pop a little bit more. No one's going to be actually reading these books because they're just images of books, but all I'm doing is using the white pen just to show that there's pages in here, there's something in there that you might want to read. So again, on each of them, and I'm not being particularly precious. I'm not worried about whether or not this is really neat. The black lines of the pages are neat, so I'm roughly going along them, but I'm not fussed. It is just to bring the eye in. You can also use the white pen just to bring the eye in to the fact that there's something on the outside. There we go, that'll do. Now thinking about my cup, there's a bit of a crack there, so that's maybe going to need to stand out a little bit and come along here. We'll just do a couple of little dots down and around here. See, I'm not managing any sort of straight lines, they're all a bit winky wonky. Okay, and you can do the same on here. You can actually use the white pen. Now what you've got to remember is these are dye inks, and dye inks contain dye. They're water based, they've got a dye in them, so when you put white over the top of them, it absorbs into the white. So what you may well find, and I think you're beginning to see it here, is there's a little bit of pink tint going onto the white. That's normal, don't panic about that. That just means that the white is absorbing the dye. They're not permanent, so the white is going to move. The dye is going to move, sorry. So don't panic if that happens. Now another thing that I quite like on here, we've got this writing on the books, but I think we need to draw it in a little bit more. So what I tend to do is write on the black with a white pen, and that can form part of your framing of the image. So what I'm tending to do at the moment is, again, it doesn't say anything, but it brings the eye in. Okay, we'll do some here. Says absolutely nothing. Another thing that you can do, which I've done on one of my samples, is actually repeat what's written here, but not in legible script. So this is how I would then write beautiful. So you can't read that that says beautiful, but it says beautiful. So that's just pulling part of the sentiment into the surrounding area, and it just adheres everything together. I think we need a little bit of white in here. Like that. Yes, I like that. I'm going to go across there with dotty bits. A little bit here. I'm quite liking that. Still feel like there's something missing. I am going to grab, oh, there might be something in my little Prosecco tin. This was a tin that I got given a few weeks ago, and it's currently just got bits and bops in it, and I'm looking for something to stick on. No, that doesn't work. What about you? No, you don't work either. Ooh, no, right, none of those stick on. So let me just grab my bits and bobs box. So this is my bits and bobs box. It's literally full of bits and bobs. Oh, I quite like a little birdie. Yeah, you know what, that bird is appealing, but I think it needs to be attached with something out of my very untidy ribbon box. I don't use ribbons often, so that's why my box is so untidy. I think we'll go with that. Yeah, because that's in keeping with the colourway. So, what I'm going to do is decide where I want it. I think having that dangling across there would be nice, and I'm wondering if it went round the back of there, comes across there, and then tucks underneath. We can try it. I'll cut it a bit long so that we've got extra if we need it, and thread this through. So one of the other things with the digital stamps is that you can actually add whatever you've already got, like you can with any stamp set. They aren't really that different. The benefit is you can actually alter the size of them, which is something that I really, really like. Oh, I'm quite liking that. Yes, I'm going to do that. Now how am I going to stick it? Let's do it with a little bit of glue under here and pop you under there. We need a little bit of gel medium to stick the birdie. So I'm just going to stick it on the 3D bit. There we go. Wipe that off. And then bring this round the front. So don't be afraid to try things. And if you're using glue, the vast majority of glues that you'll come across will dry clear. So if it's a mess, don't panic. It'll come off. And don't be afraid to look at something and go, you know what, I don't like that, because you can change it. So what I will do is stick that underneath, but I'm going to wait until everything else has dried, because then that doesn't happen, she says. Right, so there we have my finished page, which I actually rather like. So I've made the cup huge, so you size, you can make things as big or as little as you want. I've made the cup huge, I've made the books different sizes so I can stack them, I've pulled in a sentiment, and then I've put scribbly writing. Part of it's the sentiment, just so that everything pulls together. So I hope you like that. Please feel free to have a look on the JMC Designs Etsy shop. There is 20% off until Wednesday the 2nd of September using the code Princess20. And don't forget, Julia McNeil, who is JMC Designs, will be doing a live at 8 o'clock on Monday night to show you some more ideas about this wonderful set. Thanks very much for watching. Hope I see you again soon.